Dad wants me to interrupt my studies to support stepbrother, by user going abroad. Hi. My first Reddit account. My roomie told me this is the place to vent about these things. Long post. My name is Michael. I was born and raised in Missouri. Going keep it short. Mom died when I was 13. Dad remarried. We moved in with my stepmom, Linda, and my stepbrother, Lucas / same age as me. Then everything went to crap. My father started overcompensating and became super dad to Lucas. Which meant I had to be left in the dust. Over the years it became clear that Lucas was the priority, could do no wrong and was generally the golden boy who deserved everything. Won't go into the details, because I am sure you heard it all before. Lucas was never openly hostile towards me, but definitely enjoyed his preferential treatment. At some point I decided it wasn't worth trying and just focused on finishing high school. I had plans that would ensure I wouldn't have to deal with my folks after graduation and just hoped things didn't get any worse. The final blow came shortly before graduation. Again, the short version. There was a college fund for me, which my dad and mom had set up before she passed. Lucas didn't have one. Guess what? Lucas got the fund instead, with my dad explaining over 40 minutes how he justified it. I wasn't really listening, but it was something about Lucas needing all our support and how they would assist me in other ways. In the end, this assistance meant that I would be allowed to stay in the family house until I figure things out. That actually worked in my favor. Because I had already figured things out, but needed time to put stuff into action. What my dad seemed to have forgotten was, that my mom had been an immigrant from Switzerland. And since Switzerland operated under citizenship by descent, I had inherited Swiss nationality at birth. I also spoke decent German, my mom having insisted on speaking it to me exclusively before she passed. I had started researching Switzerland and its universities when I turned 16. It was perfect. Tuition fees were a fraction of what the US charged. As a citizen there would be no restrictions on work. The whole process took around half a year. Getting my passport, applying to my university of choice, saving up money for the first month there. It was fairly straightforward, but exhausting. After about 6 months I simply walked out of my dad's house and left the key on the counter. Told them I would be leaving a week before that, which was acknowledged with a grunt and a shrug from Dad. I assumed we were thus done and parting somewhat amicably. I got my ass over to Switzerland and started my studies. My family never contacted me. The 2 first semesters were rough and I didn't have time to socialize. Be it in real life or online. But after that, things got bearable. Accordingly, I got back in contact with my buddies back home and started posting on social media again. Posts about my life, my studies, and random stuff. Big mistake. It took my folks merely 2 days to reconnect. I will have to abbreviate. Dad and Linda were extremely upset that I hadn't informed them about my plans, insisting that Lucas could have profited from this opportunity as well. Wasn't sure what they meant by that, but whatever. They inquired why I had kept this from them, why I just disappeared, why I didn't feel bad about it and similar stuff. At some point I got fed up. Told them that it is how it is. They had their lives, I had mine, and that's that. They didn't like it and decided to double down hard. First, they tried to get Lucas Swiss citizenship as well. Didn't work, because citizenship is only passed down to direct descendants. Then they tried to get Lucas to transfer to my university. Didn't work either, because he didn't speak a lick of German. It was weird. These people never considered the world outside of our state to even exist and were now suddenly hyper-focused on a foreign country they knew nothing about. Meanwhile, my friends back home informed me why Dad and Linda were acting out. Lucas had apparently started living large, private apartment, car, partying, etc., and thus depleted the college fund, which would have easily lasted for the entire degree, within record time. Now he was hanging on by the skin of his teeth. And they thought the route I had taken would somehow solve their issues. It didn't. The whole situation blew up completely when they convinced me to participate in a video call. I agreed. Me, Dad and Linda were there. They started off laying out their various imaginary grievances again, talking about how Lucas deserved to profit from my opportunities as well. I swear, they used the word opportunity at least a gazillion times. I got frustrated and finally lashed out, telling them that it wasn't within my power to dish out freaking opportunities. Then they dropped the final crazy bomb. They informed me that, in order to support Lucas, we all had to make sacrifices. Thus they expected me to interrupt my studies, return home, and start contributing to the family. Dad even said he would pay for my flight back. What a generous man. I almost got a brain aneurysm, but told them somewhat calmly that I was more than happy to oblige, right after hell freezes over. This resulted in them losing their cool. Dad started shouting, Linda started sobbing. And me? I ended the call. I decided not to block them, but refused to take any calls. Now voicemails, texts, and emails are piling up. Ranging from anger to guilt-tripping to gaslighting. I am still here, still studying. Anyway. That's my entitled parents story. If you have any comments or advice, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you have any questions about studying in Switzerland, I will be happy to answer those as well. Entitled Mom lets her kids run wild, gets mad I didn't let them touch my food. Ida removed me for being too spicy, by user creative mode 9625. So, r/Ida removed this for violating their must be fair and accurate rule, but I'll let y'all be the judge. 23M, Netherlands, went to McDonald's with my fiancé for a chill meal. We're child-free but I'm genuinely fine with kids, as long as they behave. I'm a punk with tattoos and piercings, so I get stared at by kids often. Doesn't bother me. What does bother me? Kids screaming, running around, throwing toys, and climbing on furniture while the parents sit back like it's a spa. That's what happened here. 2 young kids were literally using tables and chairs as a jungle gym, yelling, and throwing a toy car. There was even an iPad on their table, but they ignored it. The 3 moms, one clear Karen leader, paid no attention. The kids kept running right up to our table. So we turned a chair to block the path and I set up a barrier with a few more. Just wanted to eat in peace. That's when Karen gets up with her goblins and storms over. Karen, is there a problem? Me, yeah, your kids keep running up to us, so I blocked the table. Karen, you're looking at them strange. You're unfriendly. Me, nah, just trying to eat. She starts yelling, this is McDonald's, not a 5-star restaurant. This is the Amsterdam ghetto. Me, yeah, and it's not a playground either. Control your kids. Then she hits me with, this is the Netherlands. We speak Dutch here. Me, then why are you speaking English? And finally, are you on crack? You look like you're on crack. I sarcastically said, yes. I am. I use ketamine too. She screamed F you, while flipping me off and stormed back. I stayed calm and didn't raise my voice once. Before leaving, I placed my ADHD meds on top of my ice cream so she'd see it, then jokingly said we should try cocaine tonight as we walked out. I never insulted her or her kids first. I didn't yell. I matched her energy and said what the staff couldn't. Some friends say I was too much. Others say I handled it like a pro. Let me know what do you guys think. To clarify, no, this is not AI, and oh I wish I was lying about this. Entitled Mom wants us to stay late because she just arrived, by user everydiver8923. I do face paint at various popular kids attractions throughout my city. I work for a company that has contracts with the locations, and then I just go in as needed. My company also offers caricatures, and I believe a few other things. I'm sure I've got tons of stories, but this one always sticks out to me. It was New Year's Eve. I had plans that night, and thankfully my boss was letting me off at 4 p.m. because the location I was at had a private event starting at 5. The caricature artist was also off at 4. It takes us roughly 20 to 30 minutes to clean everything up, so around 3:45 we start cleaning up. I'm finishing up everything and throwing my trash out, closing up our registers, and getting ready to pull my signs in. My stand has a sign that says closed that I put up. As I'm pulling my signs in, a lady comes up the stairs with a boy and asks if I'm closed. I tell her that I am, and she asks why I'm closing at 4. I explain that it's New Year's Eve, and the location has an event going on that I'm not needed for. She goes off about how she wanted her son to get his face painted and she can't believe I'm closing. I apologize, but I wasn't supposed to be there past 4, honestly if I still had my supplies out, I usually will do a face paint, but everything was put up and cleaned, and I didn't have time to redo everything. She notices the caricatures, then asks if they're closing. I let her know they are, and she's flipping out again about how it's only 4 and we should stay longer because she wants stuff. She says we just got here and you guys are leaving? How are we supposed to get anything done? She continues to insist that I stay longer to paint her kid's face and make the caricature artist stay as well, but it was already after 4 at this point and we were both exhausted. Finally she just rolls her eyes and walks away, still yelling about how she just got there and how ridiculous it is that she can't get her son's face painted. The son didn't have any interest in the face paint, it was the mother who wanted him to get it. I wonder how she reacted when she found out the entire location was closing down for the event within the hour. My mom thinks she's entitled to my new apartment, by user Boymamupmtkenzie. My mother thinks that my apartment is her home in the city. She recently rekindled a romance with the father of my middle sister. I'm the oldest, parents separated and I got my middle half-sister and half-brother, got back together and I got my youngest sister. This man left her high and dry while she was pregnant and ruined my childhood, know that it was great before. She goes on dates and he lives in the city, so Friday night she will come to my house to get ready in my 1BR1BATH apartment that I live in with my autistic 8-year-old. Taking hours and blocking the bathroom. Then she leaves and comes back on Sunday with her hair all messed up and dirty clothes. She proceeds to climb in my bed and sleep for hours, get up and wash her clothes. She has a washer and dryer. She will also remove anything I'm washing regardless of if it's wet or not, take a long hot shower, do her hair, and then pack up and leave. She has also started dropping by weekday evenings or early in the morning on weekdays to get ready for work if she was with him the night before. My son comments on her disheveled appearance and messy hair and about how long she is asleep. This past time I offered to do her laundry for her to expedite the process. She neglected to tell me that the cover she had taken to his house was cover in period blood and probably some other stuff. I saw red and had visions of dragging her out of my home, but I patiently waited until she was about to leave to tell her not to come back. Now she uses the excuse of having to pee or poo to come over every evening to do just that. Pee or poo, and she's using all up the wipes I buy for my son because he has a gastrointestinal issue associated with autism. I told her she wasn't allowed to use my wipes as she has no condition which makes her system act up. I have IBD. She proceeded to yell, offered to buy wipes, realized she didn't have the money, continued to yell, use the bathroom and said wipes while talking mess in the bathroom, and when I sat her down a few days later after I thought she calmed down. She proceeded to try and fight me in my living room after I asked why she thought she was entitled to my wipes. Fast forward to last week and she came in to pick up my son for the weekend and ran to the bathroom, proceeded to leave the door open. She never does this, take a good 10 to 15 minutes poo, flush, wash her hands, leave the light on and the door open, and let the smell permeate my small apartment. She could also clearly smell it, and when I complained she proceeded to just be in awe and tell me it wasn't that bad and I should just deal with the smell because it'd be gone soon, but I live in the sub-level apartment and have sealed all windows and doors and cracks. I even caulked the baseboards, because of the bugs that find their way in. The smell took hours to go away after she left. I send my son to her car in the parking lot now and she's upset. I also suffer from depression and narcolepsy and insomnia and PMDD and ADHD and am anemic, lol. And she would come in and look around my apartment with disgust and make rude comments about how dirty she thought it was or my lack of a Christmas tree. She snuck her large file cabinet on my moving truck and it's in my closet taking up so much space. She was supposed to get it last fall, all in front of my son, and it would send me into a kind of comatose depressive state for the entirety of the weekend. She never offered to help and didn't even notice when I impulsively cut 5 in off my hair. She still hasn't noticed. Sorry, rant over, just ugh. Update, she is now banned from entering my apartment, and when I listed the reasons because she needed to know, she replied with a text saying I knew it. I was shocked that there wasn't an apology, but also I wasn't. I told her if she knew, she could have just corrected her behavior. Additional info, her watching my son might also stop. She asked me for money to watch him, even though she insisted she wanted to watch him every other weekend because of her pay schedule. Then, she wanted me to provide food even though he's only there from Friday around 7 p.m. to Monday 7 a.m. My friends offered to watch him free of charge after she also started canceling or coming late. With his autism, my son refused to eat until he was with her and would refuse to eat the whole night or until she came because of the routine he got into. When I told her I didn't need her anymore, she magically started watching him on the same schedule and getting him on time and not asking me for money or food anymore. She calls me every weekend. She has him to complain about how he's being bad though, and it's because she ignored everything I told her about boundaries and rules and routine when it came to his autism, and she still doesn't use any of the tactics to counteract the negative. Honestly, it's just behavior that annoys her. Behavior. This past weekend she said my son was being bad at the store and that I needed to train him better. She wasn't always like this, but I can see her using more negative or demeaning terms towards how my son behaves, so we might have to go NC. Mom took over my wedding after I put boundaries in place and made it about me abandoning her, by user OKR7187. About 6 months ago, my mom and I got into an argument after I told her I didn't want her to walk me down the aisle and she replied, "I don't give a shit. Don't talk to me about your wedding," and hung up. So I did just that. I didn't ask her for help, advice, or anything in between. I told her I'm at my end with this relationship and you shitting on the most important day of my life is the last straw. She said she would go to counseling. She went once and told me she's fixed. 2 months ago, she found a breast lump and it turned out to be the very early stages of cancer. In fact, the doctors couldn't believe she found it because it was so small. However, she is convinced she is dying. She called me 4 days before my wedding to tell me she is considering physician-assisted surgery. There is no reason to do this, she is having surgery to remove the cancer next week. I said that I do not have the emotional or mental capacity to support her in that way as I am getting married in 4 days. It was an attempt at eliciting an emotional reaction. I know this because she said to me, "You should have pulled me aside at your wedding and said how sad you are that I'm sick. I asked you how you felt and you weren't sad at all. Even your friend cried for me at your wedding." She gave a speech that was 8 minutes long at the rehearsal, and in it she talked about how frustrating it is as a parent to have an independent child with boundaries and encouraged me to have none with my husband. We were mortified. Following the speech, she asked if I liked it several times. Then followed it with, "Can't you just pretend to need me?" She spent much of the wedding, a 3-day affair, talking about having cancer and dying. To anyone and everyone. Then pulled my friends aside to talk about how I'm abandoning her and her desperate need for me to love her. At the 11th hour she said she was willing to help after spending 3 days being drunk with her friends hours away, and then was upset when I didn't have a private moment with her before walking down the aisle. I was late to my own first look because she physically grabbed me until I talked to her. She asked me today to talk and I said it is not the right time, but would after her surgery. But of course she pressed the issue, so I laid it all out there and she just kept saying, "This cancer has taken over my life and you have no empathy." I have been so enmeshed with her that she reads opposition and separation as actual abandonment. I'm married and in my 30s. I don't know what I'm getting at, but I am ready for NC. Edit. I have been NC with my dad for 2.5 years, their marriage was horrific at best, so I understand the familiarity of the situation. Don't know if that makes it worse or better. TL/DR, I got married and my mom made it her main stage to talk about the ways I've abandoned her and claims I don't care that she has stage 1 cancer.